Hello there and welcome to my workshop, and a special welcome to all the new starters just tuning into my channel and watching this video. So today we're going to up the ante a little bit. We're going to do a bowl turning on the large lathe today, and I have again a beautiful piece of wood. This is the other half of a piece of trunk of a tree that I cut up a couple of months back now, and this is one of the halves that I cut off. So in a couple of months you can see, well, you can see that I cut this through with a chainsaw, but if you look down it, you can see that it's dried out, and it's gone a little wavy and warped. So it's it's dried right out now. You can see that. I think the camera's picking it up. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to actually make a square block of this. Actually, I'll keep that knot and I'll cut this end off. So whatever the diameter is across here, I'm going to make this way as well and just cut the section off. Then I'm going to cut the corners off to make it a little rounder, because it takes a considerable amount of work and a lot of hit and miss with the chisel. When I say hit and miss, as this is spinning in the lathe, the chisel will come and cut a piece here, then miss, then cut here, then miss, then cut here, and so on and so forth. And that takes a considerable amount of time to actually machine this down till we get a circular sort of object. So to shortcut and save a lot of time, so I'm just going to take the corners off. So just a young boy looking some affection, just a young boy hiding from the rain, but all he found, streets of pain, tried to avoid it all in vain. And out my window I see you, and out my window I feel somewhat blue, and out my window only pain, but out my window taking the view. Okay, so we have our bowl blank now, a little rounder than what it was, and we're into some good wood. So I've marked the position where the faceplate or drive plate is going to be, so we should just position this on here. Now I use very substantial screws with a nut head or bolt head on. I find these stronger than ordinary wood screws. Okay, so now we're ready to mount it on the lathe. Now this is quite heavy wood. It's an oak of some description. I don't know the actual type of oak. There are many different types of oak tree. Now, whatever lathe you purchase, now I do, if you're starting off wood turning, and this is a professional lathe. This is, by the time you get this into your shop, it's going to cost you around somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000. You can start off at the other end, which is what I would suggest, with a small bench lathe. The preceding two videos to this one will show you, or I go into great detail about the my smaller lathe, the bench lathe, and the operation of it and how to start using it. Now, this is the next step up. Now, if you purchase something like this, it needs to be 2.5 to 3 horsepower, preferably with a VFD, variable speed, and a DRO, which is a digital readout. Most important, emergency stop, and high and low belts. In other words, it's belt driven, and it has a high and low speed. You don't want to spin this at 3,000 RPM, because your lathe would end up walking across the workshop and you chasing after it. So, the maximum speed that you would want this to turn at a near finish bowl would be somewhere in the region of 1,000 RPM. You don't want any more than that. And certainly when it's rough like this and a big lump, maximum 500 RPM. And then different stages in between that as you were turning. You would need a handle on the back of the shaft, because I keep on saying this, and why I say this is because I've seen someone lose fingers. What you do, you present the thread of this, okay, this is the drive plate or face plate, onto the thread of the shaft, and you just turn the shaft, wind it on, and that's it. Last little bit, spin the wood and it'll lock up. And there's normally 2 to 3 little grub screws on the back here that you do up just to lock it on the shaft. Okay. Hopefully you're picking that up, but there's one of those little grub screws there. I'm just going to tighten him up, just nip him up. There's the third one there. So that locks the faceplate onto the shaft. Now, I do advise you to go and have a look at the 2 preceding videos to this, because a lot of the, shall we say, the operation of a lathe and the tools, the chisels, is exactly the same for this lathe, except it's scaled up a lot bigger. And the bigger the equipment, or bigger the lathe, obviously the more powerful it is. This is 3 horsepower, and you need to be that little bit more careful, because this is very much higher torque twisting motion. So if you've got a, let me see if I can find my bowl gouge. If you've got a bowl gouge on here like this and you don't have a firm grip of it, and if it does happen to catch, what I mean by catch is stick in and stall, or try and stall. This won't stall that easy, and it'll fly out of your hand and come up and hit you right in the face and break your blooming jaw. You've got to take all these things into consideration, even though you've got a face mask on. Alright, it can still slip out of your hand and come up and whack you right in the side of the face. So what I do is I always keep my hand on the upper side of it so it can't do it, or if it does, it takes your whole arm and it tends to throw your body away from the direction of this. Now, these are all things that I've learned over the 50 years that I've been using lathes, whether it be metal lathes or wood lathes. Okay, so look, for this size piece of wood, those screws that I put in it through the faceplate are going to be more than enough to hang on to it. But what I normally do with larger pieces of wood that I put in here, I bring the tailstock up and just support this end here. So you have to sort of work around that as well. I don't really need to do that at the moment. I mean, I really don't need to do it at all in this case, but I will bring the tailstock up and show the operation using a tailstock as a rear support. Now what you should also do, and I do read the comments by the way, and something I neglected to say in the last couple of videos, when you alter the tool rest to a position, you will see me spin the piece of wood. Now that is to ensure that there's no higher piece of wood or sticking out more that's going to foul the tool rest. Thank you to the person that made that comment, that I do this. I do spin the wood around, but I don't explain why. So that's the reason, and thank you for that person. So we're going to use an intermediate roughing gouge here. We're going to just start the lathe up quietly to make sure that it's not vibrating or too far out of balance. And that's just about 500 there. Now we just start rounding this around. So every so often you need to have a check to see what's going on. We've still got a fair way to go to get rid of that and this. Ooh, some nice grain there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my bowl gouge now, and I'm going to do some scraping, some shear scraping, just on this edge before I continue any further. I've got a piece out of there, never mind. Now what shear scraping is, I'll just take it up to about nearly 700 now. Now there's two cutting surfaces, one here, one here. Okay, so I'm going to apply both cutting surfaces at the same time, so the top one will stop the bottom one from biting in too deeply, and it goes something like this. Now if you want to take a little bit more material out, you just rotate the chisel anti-clockwise so the bottom cutting edge bites in a little deeper, like so. Just use my large spindle gouge now to just machine this down, And you'll see that, well, that center point there is the center height, and this really should be set about 5mm or 1/4 inch down below that. So when you present this tool, if you see the cutting edge here pretty well lines up with the center of the material there. So that's the ideal situation. Look, it can be you know, 1/8 of an inch higher or lower, but somewhere in that region, that's where it should be. So now we'll just turn this down, face it off. I'll just move the camera around a little bit because I'm going to step in, and you're not going to be able to see what I'm doing.
Is how I feel today, and how I feel feels like this won't go away, 'cause I know what she wants. Something deep and blue, something like a locket, reminds her of you. And I know what she wants. Something deep and blue, something like a locket, reminds her of you. And when she cries, rains on you inside.
That is how to make a mortise as opposed to a tenon. If this was mirrored outwards, that would be a tenon. So this is a mortise. And this is the reason why I went so deep, is because I know I've got a crack through there. I mean, I've got cracks everywhere, but they're not going to hurt me too much, I don't think. But I just wanted a fair bit of meat there to hang on to. So I'm just going to clean the outside surface up with a bit of sandpaper now, and I'll turn it around and put it on the job. Now, do you remember me saying to you earlier that you have to adapt to how you're machining, because the wood will actually determine what it wants to be. Well, I machined the mortise, as you saw, and I put it in the chuck, and I opened the chuck, and the mortise split because there's so many cracks in this wood. It just split out. So what I've had to do is machine it off, and the only thing I could do, and this is only a demonstration piece, is to put my small faceplate on here so I can turn it around and hollow this out. So that's what we're going to have to do.
Inside.
I hope you've enjoyed the wood turning today, and hope I've passed on some information to you. So please subscribe to my channel and press like. And I have two channels now. The second channel you can get to if you go to the banner at the top of my YouTube channel on the right hand side, lower. You can get to it there. Also below that, in my preferred channels, there's also a link there to my second channel, and there's also a link to Conn O'Neill music channel. There's some of the tracks playing in the background are his music. You can go along to his channel and have a look at some of his songs that he's recorded on there for you. Also, there'll be a link below this video for you to go to his YouTube channel and to his homepage, where you can purchase some of his tracks. He's got 2 albums out, and they're all his own original music. He writes all his own music. So thank you for joining me, and it's bye for now. Thank you.